Well, that's a hard act to follow.
Ah, thanks.
But just some statistics. What is it? The average family, and these are through NAR, and you can look up their statistics on NAR. And they have like a buyer, seller, frequently asked questions or statistics on what they do. And some of the things that I remember is that the average household knows 4 people that are going to be involved in a real estate transaction in the next year, next 12 months. So, I mean, if you would call 48 people, you know, you're going to get somebody that knows somebody that's going to be involved in a real estate transaction. And I think that, you know, again, that's important because it is a good business. And if we take the average sale price in the United States today is $264,000, and usually our referral fee is 30% of the side. So 30% of 3% is 9/10%. So you're looking at a referral fee on a $265,000 side at about $2,360, I think it would be. So it's, you know, it's substantial. And I think the other thing is, it's a comfortable thing to talk to the homeowners about. You know, it's not, because a lot of people ask a lot of times, well, what do I say when I call my sphere of influence? And I think a wonderful thing to talk to them about is, you know, about the referral network that we have that we should be proud of because of the percentage that closes. So, but what I want to do is mention something today, and I always mention that I have like mentors, and I always learn, you know, more than one thing, but I always try to take the things that I learn from them because usually it's a simple lesson. You've heard me say many times about, you know, Becky Quick and her interview that she had with Bill Gates, and asking Bill Gates the question that, Mr. Gates, I know that you and Mr. Warren Buffett have been friends for like 25 years. You know, what's the number one thing you learned from Warren Buffett? And Bill Gates said, Warren Buffett taught me to think simple. You know, and I find that very interesting because you have 2 very unique minds, and probably if you take maybe the 10 best minds ever, those 2 might be included in that. And then I remember like Albert Einstein. And Albert Einstein said that, you know, these 5 levels of intelligence are, you start out, you're smart, then you become intelligent, you become brilliant, you become a genius, and he said the highest level of intelligence is simple. And I find that interesting. So I was thinking back on some people that I've learned from, and I think one of the smartest people I ever read in my life that has more common sense than anybody, I would put her in my top 3, Ann Landers. And I read her column for like 25 years. And she was just so smart, and the questions that people asked 25 years ago, it's the same ones that are in there today. It's just 25 years later, but all the problems are the same. So the number one thing that probably comes to Ann Landers is people are in a relationship. So it's either the lady writing the letter or it's the man writing the letter, and they're asking Ann Landers for advice on what to do. And this is the advice that she gave, and I must have read this 100 times and she'd say the same thing. You have to ask yourself a question. Am I better off with him, or am I better off without him? Am I better off with her, or am I better off without her? And I think that, you know, that can solve a lot of things that we have, you know, in our life if we ask the same type of question. So let's look at some of the things that we're talking about doing here in the last 180 days, okay? Are we better off to send our new listing coming to market in your neighborhood card? Are we better off not to send it? Okay, are we better off to put the step-in sign in the yard the day we list the property with our contact information? Are we better off not to use the step-in sign? Are we better off to hold an open house the first weekend that we have that listing? Are we better off not to hold the open house? Are we better off to maybe hold it out of the MLS until Sunday night or Monday? Or should we put it in the MLS right away? Are we better off with the just sold cards? Are we better off not sending the just sold cards? The wristband. Okay? Now, let me tell you the story how this happened. For the people that were here a few years back, when they first came out with email, we had this button. And the button says, got email? How many remember that? Candy remembers that. So it was my bright idea that we would reinstall this button, and I got the, you know, that wasn't such a good idea. So Tracy came up with the idea of using the wristband, which I really like better than the button, but I'm not going to admit that to her. So the idea here is hopefully maybe somebody will ask you about it, but if you wear the band, we're looking at doing a couple of things that really make sense. Are we better off asking for the referral? Are we better off not asking for the referral? Are we better off having the people have our app on their phone? Are we better off not to have the app on the telephone? So I think it's just some simple things that we talked about, and I think the idea of the wristband is something that's simple, the same way that I probably wear this 95% of the time, and I think I do get inquiries on it from different people, but it also reminds me to look for that referral. So I think we have a lot of advantages in different things, and I think to look at the home warranty, which saves us a lot of aggravation later, because again, you know, we've got a warranty to stand behind if there's a problem, and we don't want an unhappy customer. There's nothing worse than moving into a house and a week later the air conditioner goes out and the person has just spent every dollar that they've had moving in. I would rather see them spend their money on curtains than I would the furnace. But I think if you look at that as you know, a side business or a separate business that you have, and we start looking at the referrals as a side business, then we'll get in the habit of doing it. So that's the whole idea behind, so I hope everybody's put their wristband on. And Tracy, are you supposed to wear it on a certain arm? Is it right or left? Does it make any difference?
It's just better than the button.
Well, they told me that she said they don't like the buttons because it puts holes in your women's blouses.
Right? Yeah.
No, I didn't know that. So. But anyway, that's the whole idea behind this. But with that,